woman. The reason that I want to bring her to light is because I'm sure you've heard of the Proverbs 31 mother. Proverbs 31 mother. You have heard about many other mothers in the sacred canon. But I want to introduce you to one that I know had to be a sister. She had to be a sister. So the text has been read in your hearing, and I just want to talk briefly from the subject, the character of a compassionate mother. The character of a compassionate mother. I would like to introduce into this discourse the work of a great friend of mine, the work of a great scholar, and it happens to be the written works of the subjects in which she has put forth in this dialogue about womanist theology. And I would like to introduce to some and present to others the work of Dr. Nyasha Jr. Dr. Jr. is a well-respected branch of religious cross-questioning when it comes to the merits of women of color, of black women who are unidentified in the sacred canon. Junior sets what is called the terra firma, the space, the domain by which the contribution of women, African women, women of color, are necessary characters in the accounts of the tradition of our faith. I would submit to you that for the church and outside the church, but far too long has the black church and black women in church, even those women of color who are outside of church, but for far too long, women of color have suffered from the tenets of what is called doctrinal disorder. You may ask the question, well, Reverend, what are those doctrinal disorder? Women of color, even in the church, outside of the church, always has to deal with these three things. The first thing they have to deal with is racism. They have to deal with classism, and they have to deal with sexism. Let me work with these three just partially for a minute. They have to deal with racism. They have to deal with the ideology of distinct difference in social behaviors and innate capacities of inferiority and superiority due to their skin color. Now watch this. Not only are they women, and in some cultures, that is a sign and a symbol that means less than. And so to have to be considered less than, not only because of your gender, but also because of your race. A doctrinal disorder. And then they have to deal with what is called classism, the attitudinal bias prefaced on the distinction of social or economic subjects. Some folk will look at you and say you are not valuable, but you are valueless. And you ought to get sick and tired of even coming into the church where folk look at you and judge you as if they know what you've been through. Talk, Buck, I am. We have too much attitudinal biases, even when it comes to our women. And then not only do we have racism and classism, but we have what is called sexism. That's the stereotypical prejudice conditioned by and based on gender. These are the tenets or the doctrinal disorders that women of color have to deal with on a daily basis. If you don't think I'm telling the truth, there are those sisters who are in the military. And don't you know that the United States Department of Defense had the nerve to come up with a law to say that a sister could not wear her hair in any particular way? You looking at me like I'm strange. Let me give you a little bit more in depth to this. They came up with a law and said that sisters could not wear braids or dreads. Why did you come up with something for those who look like us when there was nothing that came up with the others as well? Our sisters have to deal with too much doctrinal disorder, too much racism, too much classism, too much sexism. But I want you to know today that God is a God that, in spite of how others judge you, God is the one who has jurisdiction over you. Can I say that to somebody this morning? Don't be concerned, watch this, don't be concerned of how others look at you, because they are not your judge. They didn't create you. They didn't make you beautiful the way you are. They didn't wake you up this morning. They didn't start you on your way. Too many of our women of color have to deal with doctrinal disorders. And that's why I gathered from the collective conglomerate of Christians at Corinth, the Apostle Paul recognized back then what Dr. Junior is arguing right now. There are too many schisms in the body. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 verse 25 says this: there should be no schism, there should be no racism, there should be no classism, there should be no sexism in the body, but that the members should have the same care for one another. Everybody has the right to be treated equally. No gender is dominant over the other. A woman can lead just as equally as a man can lead. Can I say that again? Yeah. Let me work through this. We're going to get to the glory point, but a woman can lead, a mother can lead just as well, equally as any other person can lead. Here's why I tell you this: be careful who you judge. Matthew says, do not judge so that you may not be judged. For with the judgment you make, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get. In other words, the more you judge people, you are really exposing people to your own fragility. Wow. There should be no schisms. Just because I'm a man, I can do this better. Just because I got this, I can do this better. There should be no schisms in the body. And here is why: schisms divide the body. There is too much divisiveness in the body of Christ, and that divisiveness gives birth to sectarianism. That's the group of folk who get together in the corner and talk about everybody else. And they forgot that they looked in the mirror. Baruch Spinoza comments on the problems of schisms when he says, schisms do not originate in love and truth, which is a source of courtesy and gentleness, but rather in an inordinate desire for supremacy. Can I tell you this morning, there are some folk who want to control you just because of what you look like and the gender that you are. There are those who seek to demean and diminish, trying to control the narrative of women of color and their contributions toward the allegiance of sincere devotion to God. They seek to have some kind of reign, some kind of imperium, some kind of preeminence over the sisters. But I can hear Zora Neale Hurston saying it this way. The influential author and anthropologist says these words. She says, sometimes I feel discriminated against because it does not make me angry. It merely astonishes me. How can they deny themselves the pleasure of my company? It is beyond me. End quote. Here's what she is saying. It is nothing like being in the presence of a mother who has a character of compassion. You deny yourself. You don't deny them. You deny the blessings of God that could be upon your life. And let me make this evident. I'm not talking about that scripted character. I'm not talking about the Hollywood character. I'm not talking about this facade. I'm talking about them mothers that know how to get down, and I'll say this morning, I'm talking about them ride or die mothers. I'm talking about them mothers who's not going to let anything or anyone happen to them or anybody around them. Let me see if I can socialize and bring this forward. When Taraji P. Henson won her Golden Globe Award for her role as Cookie in the TV series Empire, Henson made the most honest comment that we have forgotten. As she walked up to the stage calmly and commented, and she said something like to this effect, quote, "I'm not talking," or she says, "I'm a black woman who has to play the role of an ex-convict who sold crack in order to win an award." I'm not talking about them scripted mothers. I'm not talking about those so-called real housewives of Atlanta, of Philadelphia. I'm not talking about those who perpetuate the negative stereotype of what some consider to be angry black women whose lives are scripted in order to keep a narrative going and the ratings going beyond. I'm not talking about them Hollywood characters, but I'm talking about that sister, that mother that's in it to win it. I'm talking about that mother that loves her child in spite of what others says. I'm talking about those women who know that they know that God is, God will be, and God is forever. I wish I had at least two mothers who could testify and say, "My beauty should not be your burden." Don't get mad at me because I look good. Don't get mad at me. And don't get mad because black don't crack. Don't get mad at me. I didn't ask to be made this way, but it's the God in me. And watch this. Since God has given it to me, I'm going to use it to the best of my ability. My lips look good. My hair look good. My hands look good. I was made in the image of God. Don't lose yourself because I know I look good. The psalmist says, "I praise you, Lord, because I am fearfully." That's the character of a compassionate mother. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know that full well. The character of a compassionate mother is she is not conflicted by who she is. Her education and her vocation is not who she is, but it's because of who she is that she makes her education and her vocation what it is. Mothers have to deal with a lot of stuff. I wish I had some help here. Well, mothers have to deal with a lot of problems. Mothers have to deal with a lot of situations. Mothers have to make sure they take care of what everybody else chooses not to take care of. That's why I'm glad Grandmama and them knew how to come together. Grandmama and them would say, "My hope is built on nothing less than Jesus' blood and righteousness." That's what them other mothers used to say. "I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand." The character of a compassionate mother. This woman, this mother, this wife, this compassionate and caring character, the Shunammite woman. We don't even have her name. We don't have the history of her lineage. We don't even know where she came from. We don't even know who she was born to. What regional location does she spring from? No ancestral instruction, but she comes up on the scene as a Shunammite woman. And not just any kind of Shunammite woman, but she is one, the text says, she is one who has done well. She's well off. She was a rich sister. Now let me tell you this, brothers, if you are intimidated by a woman who got it going on, you may not be cut out to be on her arm. I know some of y'all don't want to say, man, you're looking at your boyfriend and your husband like, ooh, pastor. But you can't get upset because she got something going on even before she met you. You ought to be glad that she got something going on. You ought to be glad that she has a way about her. You ought to be glad that she got some things going in her life, because maybe she can help us get across some things herself. I wish I had some witnesses here. You can't be afraid of a sister who got it going on. Ask me, I know. Yeah, I know that I know. Me and Jay was talking the other day. She said, you know, James, for the past 3 times that you graduated, we had a child. Mrs. Stovall, let me tell you what I had to do. I said, okay. Champ came right after my bachelor's. Jada came right after the master's. I don't know who's coming. I got one for the father, one for the son. I'll just wait on the Holy Ghost to come back. But I've come to tell somebody this morning that ain't nothing wrong with having a woman, a wife, a mother who's got some character about herself. Can I get a witness in here? She had some stuff going on. When I look at my paycheck, and I looked at Jay's paycheck, I was like, Jesus, the Lord is good. What's yours is mine, and what's mine, whatever I got is mine. The little bit that I do have, the little bit that I do have. 3 points, Grace, and it's a lengthy read, but I just want to pull out some characteristics of a compassionate mother as it deals with the Shunammite woman. And then we'll move on and have our communion. Watch this. The text says that yes, she had wealth, and yes, she was well-to-do, but here's the one characteristic that I picked up about this mother. Her wealth did not interfere with her womanhood. And her money did not disconnect her from the mission. Can I say that again? Her wealth did not determine her womanhood, and her money did not disconnect her from the mission. Well, Pastor, why would you say that? There are many writings and warnings about rich people not making it into heaven because they love their riches. But this mother was not tied to mammon, but she had a heart for the mission of God. She sees the prophet coming by on a consistent basis, and she says to her husband, she don't ask him, but she said, that's how come I know she was a sister. She says to him, she don't have to ask him for anything. She said, we gonna build him something. We don't need to discuss it. We don't need to sit down by the table. I can just see the husband saying, okay. We have to to help this man of God, we got to do something, because he's going to and fro, and he surely does not have any place to stay. I don't know if this mother had ever been in a situation where she did not have a place to rest, but one thing I know is that she used what she had in her jurisdiction to help somebody along their journey. That's the character of a compassionate mother. She'll use what she has to help somebody else get along the way. Are there any compassionate character mothers in here who can testify and say, God, I know you gave it to me for me, but I want to use it to help somebody else? My Agnes Marie would fix bologna sandwiches. I know y'all don't know what bologna is, but it's, y'all never been below, y'all don't know what bologna is. That's that meat that they have to compress together. And when you fry it, if you don't have the skillet, you just put it on the eye and poke a hole in it, and when it puffs up, it'll settle back down. That's what bologna is. If you don't have enough meat to put in your greens, they clip up a little bit of bologna and put it in. So everybody, that's what bologna is. I'll show it to you one day, but I don't have time to show it right now. But my mama would make bologna and bologna light bread. I know y'all say Wonder Bread up here, but bologna light bread, mayonnaise and tomatoes. And when she ran out of meat, she would just put tomatoes and mayonnaise. Pat Beach, you know about that? And she would feed the whole neighborhood. Miss Katie Young, who used to live right across the street from us, Miss Katie Young, her kids would come over to Agnes Marie Buckhouse. Miss Florine Davis, who lived next door to us, her kids would come over to Agnes Marie Buckhouse. Miss Matilda Brown, her kids would come over to Agnes Marie Buckhouse. And so after they would get out of work, they would be wondering where the kids are. The folks would just say, go over there to Marie's house, because Marie got every last one of them over there. Let me tell you about the character of a compassionate mother. She does not care whose child you are, but she will take care of you until your parents get you to where you need to be. That's what this woman was. She was one who did not allow her wealth to determine her motherhood, and her money would not disconnect her from the mission. It did not matter how much it cost. She made sure they were taken care of. Well, she gets to a situation to where she blesses the man of God, the prophet, and the prophet's servant goes to her and say, now listen, looks like you don't have what you need. Now I got to caution the servant here, because when you read the word, she quickly tells the prophet, hey, listen, you don't know nothing about me. You don't know who I am. And she tells the prophet, don't get my hopes up. And here's what you got to understand about the character of a compassionate woman, a compassionate mother. Don't think that you can usurp your authority over her and think you can get a payback on the back end. Wish I had some help here. Listen, she says to him, listen, don't bring my hopes into this. Don't tell me you're going to do something that you cannot do. And so he says, Elisha looks like she doesn't have a child. Now you got to understand the cultural premise. It was the cultural premise that every person or every mother would like to have their firstborn as a son, because if something happened to the father in the family,